Good evening, everyone. My name is Madibo from the Alexandra Methodist Church. As we all know, we are currently in our 16 days against gender-based violence. And my topic for today is economic empowerment for women. Please allow me to change this topic and say economic empowerment for all our victims. Poverty is one of the main drivers of gender-based violence, and South Africa is rated amongst one of the few countries which have a high poverty rate. How many of us know of a friend, a sister, a brother who's currently in an abusive relationship but is unable to get out of that relationship because of they are financially dependent on the perpetrator? How many of us know of a child who's currently being abused? No one can do anything about it. No one can say anything about it. Why? Because of the family is financially dependent on the perpetrator. The community is scared of speaking against the perpetrator because of they are somehow gaining or benefiting financially somehow from the perpetrator. How many of us know of people who are from poverty-stricken families who go out to seek for better opportunities or to try and find a way of getting or putting food on the table for their families and subjecting themselves to abuse just so that they can have something to eat for that evening? How many of us know of people who are currently working in abusive environments but unable to do anything because of they are financially dependent on these environments that they find themselves in? And yes, poverty is one of the monsters that are perpetuating this gender-based violence that we are facing in this country. Now, what is economic empowerment and how can economic empowerment assist us with dealing with gender-based violence? Economic empowerment refers to the process through which individuals, especially women and the marginalized group, gain the ability to participate fully in economic activities. This concept is crucial for promoting gender equality and addressing systemic inequalities in access to resources, opportunities, and decision-making. Now, how do we empower ourselves as women and also the marginalized group? One thing that my grandmother used to say is that knowledge is power. We need to encourage the marginalized group and women to then find a way of self-developing themselves. Educate yourself as much as possible. Share knowledge that you have with the people that might need it the most. One thing that she used to say, this is my grandmother, is if there's one thing that no one will ever be able to take from you is your knowledge. So share that knowledge with people and make sure that people are knowledgeable with things that are happening in and around them. Let's make sure that the marginalized is educated and are knowledgeable with things that are happening in and around where they find themselves in. Fill up space. Take up space. Find an opportunity where you can grow yourself as a person. Whether it be at work, whether be it when you are not working, there's always an opportunity for you to grow yourself. You can grow yourself by not working and just finding an opportunity where I can say, hi, I can help you. Hi, I can wash your washing. Hi, I can take care of your kids. Fill up that space. Take up that space. There's always cracks that need to be filled, and you just need to identify those cracks and fill them up. If you are a working class, you find opportunities of saying, how do I self-develop myself so that I can grow from this position that I'm in to the next position, so that I can be a better version of myself for the people that depend on me. We need to teach our kids about the importance of being independent, making sure that they are independent beings who can find themselves and stand on their own 2 feet. And there's different ways in which they can be independent. They firstly need to be educated. They need to find what works for them, and they need to be able to then fill up those cracks. They need to be the ones that change this narrative on gender-based violence. They need to be educated about this gender-based violence, because if they are the ones that understand what it is, they can then change this narrative. They can change this poverty-stricken environment that we are finding ourselves in. We need to find ways of lending a helping hand. When you see someone struggling, when you see someone finding themselves in situations that they cannot get out of. We need to be able to then lend that helping hand and saying, hey, here's a lifeline. Hey, this is what you can do. Hey, this is what you can change about your life. We need to be able to lend this helping hand, not only to ourselves, but also to people who need it the most. Unfortunately, we also need to find ways of changing some of the policies that we find ourselves in, especially in this country. We need to have policies that are so robust that they eradicate this economic imbalance that we find ourselves in this country. They need to make sure that we find ourselves in an economically equal environment, because of there is nothing that can do that other than the policies that would be implemented. And the best way of getting these policies implemented, we need to then say, what policies do we want? We need to start speaking up about policies that would then change the narrative for ourselves and our family and our loved ones. Now, this cannot happen overnight. That's one thing that we need to appreciate, but it can be done. And once we have our victims who are now economically empowered, this would change the narrative of gender-based violence. We will have victims who are able to stand up to the perpetrators because of they would not be financially obligated or financially dependent on their perpetrators. We'll have victims who are able to speak up because of they are able to then walk away from abusive relationships. Why? Because of they are able to then stand up on their 2 feet without the perpetrators being there. We would then have an environment that then changes. We would have our kids who would understand what it means to be in an economically equal environment, where they would then be the ones that are driving this and saying, not in our name, not in our times. And that would then change where we are finding ourselves in, especially with this gender-based violence.